My name is Andrew Jenks, and I have a TV show on MTV called World of Jenks, which is a documentary series, and I've made 2 documentaries before this, one on HBO and one on ESPN. I became interested in making documentaries when I was really young. I was in 4th grade and we would travel around a lot, so I just had this big, bulky VHS camera that I'd go around and just film with. Not to sound cheesy, but the camera sort of became my best friend, and that's how I started just filming a lot. In order to find your story, I think you first need to really focus on what you hope people will think about after watching your video. Then you can really make sure that you're telling a story that will be pertinent to them as a viewer and make them act or make them laugh or make them cry. The elements in making a great video typically are endearing characters, or at least characters that you can in some way identify with, even if you dislike them or like them. I think that's an important facet to any storytelling, and I think you also want to see development in those characters so that they're changing. And if they're not changing, something needs to be changing so that an audience can see movement in your story. So when I first moved into a nursing home, I called at least 30 nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and asked if I could move in and make a documentary about what it was like to move in. And the first 30 said no, at least. So it's just a matter of being diligent and calling more and more people and eventually finding that yes. Every time we try and dive into different subcultures and document them, you're always going to get no's. You just have to find that pocket that exists where someone will give you full access and show you an honest portrayal of what that life is like. In order to get people to trust you or your subject to trust you, a lot of times it requires a great deal of patience. I wouldn't consider myself someone who is patient, but I think I have to be in order to make documentaries. And what I personally do is I put myself in the documentary so that we both are kind of going through what it's like to have cameras in your face. In order to make a film, I think you do need people that will help you, and the best way is for you to show them that you're passionate. And once I think people believe in you and believe in your project, they'll be willing to sacrifice a lot of the resources they have so that you can see that goal come to fruition. My technique when I go into shooting a documentary is I have a plan. So I've always used the analogy of a sports game. I feel like I have a team, and we go into a game with a certain game plan, and we know that within the first minute of that game, everything might change. When I was 21, I moved to Japan, and I followed around an American baseball manager who had become a demigod, and I knew I just really wanted to follow him. So I moved there for 8 months, and I was convinced that I'd make the story about Bobby Valentine, and it'd be a character portrait. And when I got there, I realized that there was so much more to the story than just him. It was a story about the country of Japan, how much they loved baseball, and how much they loved him. I think it's important when you're shooting a documentary or when you're shooting any sort of story that you're able to adapt.